Hello guys, welcome to the Trading Parrot. I'm gonna do an update on altcoins, Bitcoin dominance, USDT dominance, and total 3 and 2. This is how we are seeing the market today. There's a few double-digit runners, including BitTensor, Hex, HBAR, Virtual, and Trump. But the rest of the coins are really not that great looking. There's a lot of red at the moment, and that doesn't surprise me. After all, we are seeing a little bit of a pullback with Bitcoin so far not managing to reconquer 116K. To be honest, personally, that retracement doesn't feel that painful. From 116 just into 114 could be just a bull flag that is about to do another attempt. I guess there is a ton of fears at the moment if Bitcoin retraces into the CME gap located at 110.8. What could happen to the altcoins, and maybe some profit taking is going on thanks to that. We are sitting at altcoin season number 43 in the index. Still trying to find support from that 36 that we mentioned in the previous altcoin season video that I made. Interestingly, it hasn't managed to break below the Bitcoin season number 25, which will mean a full reset from being into altcoin season back down to where we started. Elliott Trades is saying, this keeps me awake at night. If this trend line extends into 2025-2026, we should see the biggest alt season of all time. And this is coming from the others BTC USD chart that we've been also monitoring in here, just slightly in a different way. As I have mentioned multiple times, I do not have the expectation that in this cycle all season, if it happens from this falling wedge, which is bullish, to be honest, I don't expect it to do the full length into the top of the range in here. Michael is saying that Ethereum is squeezing towards a big breakout. If this breaks the high, and also that depends on Bitcoin starting to go up as well, then we are quite fastly going to be running towards the high against BTC. That will equal Ethereum at 5K and altcoins to start firing off. And I have done my exercise and noticed how many influencers are currently talking about massive bullish targets for the altcoins. We're going to have a look at what are their expectations. And to be fully transparent, I have an expectation of seeing altcoins doing something. But my current risk is just my last few bags that I haven't sold. So if the altcoin season doesn't come, or we enter straight into a bear market, my risk is just a couple of bags that I inherit for a second cycle not doing anything. My ADA, my Chainlink, and a couple more. If it plays out, well, that's great. I am not playing this with all my expectations on let's allocate everything into an altcoin season and let's go all back in the market. You can see that this analysis is based on a monthly stochastic RSI bullish cross incoming, potentially, right? We got one in here that faked out. So if you were following this strategy, you already got burned at the highs in here. Then you get one potentially incoming. We don't know when it's gonna play out. It could be in November or it could be later. More likely in November due to seasonality. That's the expectation of everybody. Stock Money Lizards is talking about altcoins. People are still in massive disbelief. The playbook, 3-year bear market followed by 3 months of bull. It's interesting that everybody focuses on the technicals, but no one is focusing on the timing or where are we coming from. Altcoins have not performed in the whole cycle. And in previous cycle, when we have this kind of things, we also have relief. And this starts from the early bull into halfway that year in 2021, not at the end of the topping year. So there is clearly some mismatch in those patterns. Bullish symmetrical triangle pattern for the altcoins. We're talking here total 3, I believe, excluding BTC and Ethereum. And we are also targeting looking into this particular chart. I'll give you an update later on my own version. Chiefy says that the next altcoin season starts in November. Again, we get everybody regurgitating the same crap. I have the same patterns and everything, but I do not have this 225x's. Of course, every influencer wants you to get hooked for their own benefit, and they really not care what happens if you fully buy this idea. There you go, another one with excessive expectations. This is a target of $14 trillion allocated to altcoins when we can barely move a few $100 million in this cycle. Yes, there can be quantitative easing and a lot of cash, but always remember that what we have in here was during a COVID that completely reset the economy, and there was so much money printing from the early stages of the market. So timing, everything was aligning. We are already in a bull market. We have already all-time highs every day on the S&P. And this is forecasting that is going to expand into 2027 pretty much, and getting into 14 trillion market cap in altcoins. I mean, if it happens, fantastic. I'm not going to complain. But it's very, very low likely. That low likely that it becomes almost ridiculous. Altcoins versus gold chart. This is an interesting ratio that I haven't done myself. Others versus gold on the 2 weekly time frame, and you can see that there is a pattern of support flipping to resistance, and then some double bottom information, and a speculation that we are just about there, assuming as well that gold found that top, because if gold continues to rip off, then we could break the support and continue going lower. TechDev is saying that altcoins slower but bigger. That they didn't believe it then, they don't believe it now. If someone didn't believe it then, they didn't believe it in the depth of the bear market. There is a massive distinction there. There's always people not believing at the bottom of the market. People were calling for Bitcoin to go sub 10K when it was at 15K. Some people miss buying Bitcoin at 15K because they wanted to buy it at 12K. I didn't make that mistake. I bought tons of Bitcoin at 15K at the cost of having some drawdown. But it's different to be not believing in the bear market that being not believing after 2 years of upside of Bitcoin. Because for the altcoins now to achieve all these targets, you need Bitcoin to really carry on for a sustained way, so the inflows from quantitative easing theoretically lands in people's pocket, and then they start trading. Bitcoin dominance is retesting the weekly cloud. Still, altcoins red because the Bitcoin dominance retest. And I agree, we are in a retest. Yes, this, if it gets rejected from there, it should come back down. What I don't believe is the magnitude of these calls. Ethereum still of the belief we see new highs this cycle. However, looking at structure, I have to consider the scenario if we see a false breakout above the local range and then accept back within it. Less likely if we get a daily close above 45.25. So yeah, there was a double bottom formation that I also mentioned in the Bitcoin trade. If Bitcoin goes into 120, Ethereum probably can get there. If we go into this area where we have some liquidity on Ethereum, that is my buy. If I don't get a buy day there, I just rally with my 3.8 entry. And something interesting flipped today. We had Ethereum inflows peaking in the past weeks, but now we are getting a couple of two strange outperformers in here. We have Aptos sold the largest stablecoin supply inflows in the past 24 hours, adding $545 million. And Polygon as well, very closely behind it. Ethereum has the opposite at the moment, but in the past weeks, it was the only one moving. And Ethereum have some inflows on spot ETFs, but there's been a lot of bleeding in here. So now my take on others against BTC. We are in a retest. My expectations is momentum getting in here instead of saying that this is going to get to the top of 11. When momentum reaches that level, we can see the chart looking like that, getting into the green line. we need to be very careful because this assumes that with the time required to get there at that speed, that occurs in September 2026, which is way extended for a Bitcoin top happening in November this year. So even my expectation is a little bit stretching it too much. That's what I'm trying to say. Others continue there with the breakdown, still for multiple consecutive weeks, not being able to reclaim the most healthy level of support for continuation to upside. And all my charts of USD dominance against total free dominance are in the area of the edge of the cliff. Just a close above this on the weekly basis, and we are in the territory of bear market that we already fulfilled in the past cycle. What we need is a rejection from here and to come down into this bubble. That is where you can fulfill partially the big expectation that those influencers have. This one is aggregating dominance of USDT plus USDC. This one is my old chart that was only focused on USDT dominance, but both of them are in the edge of the cliff. Not that close on USDT, but neither on this, but very close, to be honest. USDT dominance plus USDC dominance continues in the breakout, still very healthy to the upside. This still looks like a rejection of the Bitcoin dominance and potential coming into altcoin season. I'm not going to deny that. We are still not entering in the RSI back inside the ascending wedge, so that is also good for altcoin season. You can see that we continue our fractal into the bear market in here. We have deaccelerated there the past close on Sunday, but that only managed to do something that is still bullish for the USDT dominance and bearish for altcoins, which is a breakout and now a retest. So this red candle back down that we put on Sunday is just acting as a retest for potential additional acceleration into the bear market. So continue to be very careful in here. That is my current stance and I'm not going to change it. I'm just going to give you my honest perspective on the technicals. Total free is still at the weekly support in here at the bottom of the channel. There is a chance that it can move back into resistance at 70. If we break out from there, we can get into 90. To be honest, my expectation is just to get into resistance. Ethereum dominance is rolling up in here, so potentially we could see Ethereum doing some moves, which is actually necessary before we can see moves in the altcoins. Bitcoin needs to put an all-time high, Ethereum right after, and then the rest. And Ethereum is doing something pretty cool in here. This is bullish for altcoin season. It is on the monthly and on Ethereum in the right order. So look at this. We are reclaiming and we are about to close October the way we should, right? Not with a fake out, not inside this resistance, but confirming that we are due for another leg up on Ethereum. Let's close like this and it's good, okay? Just good. If we close with a higher high in here, let's say RSI 65, that is the perfect retest. That's the one that deserves a big picture and a headline in a newspaper that really we are due for something big in November. Probably allocating by then, you are already halfway missing the full move. So ideally you allocated with all these moves back into support at 3.4. I am not calling to allocate at 4.1. No way. And total 2 and total 3 are in the area I do not like. Right here still coming back down below the resistance. We need the end of October to slightly push it a bit higher to not put bearish patterns on altcoins again. In a nutshell, things are looking extremely risky. We are in the edge of a cliff still when it comes to potentially confirming areas that only belong to a bear market. High likelihood, if we enter here, let's say 70-80%, that there is point of no return. Now, if we reject and we continue to reject this and we take this low, yeah, we come back and we put some potential upside for altcoins. But the only way that you can be risk-free by now is if you bought at low levels during the liquidation or in the early stages of the bull, so that now you're a bit more relaxed against this risk. Now, if you just want to bet and put $100 that you can afford to lose, you could bet that that opportunity is still possible. If you're betting your neck, are you nuts? No way. Anyways, thanks for watching this video and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.